She didn't know it yet, but the small act she did on that rainy day would change her destiny forever. This is not just a story. It's a lesson in kindness, patience, and divine timing. So sit back, take a deep breath, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel, because stories like this will stay with you long after the screen fades to black. The sky over Nairobi was not just gray, it was aching. Clouds swirled above the tin roofs, whispering secrets of an incoming storm. The city, alive and chaotic as always, began to fold into its evening rhythm. Cars honked lazily, street vendors started to pack, and people walked faster, glancing up at the sky like it owed them something. Somewhere in this storm of bodies and noise stood Maya, 17 years old, balancing a plastic bag of groceries, and the weight of the world on her narrow shoulders. She wore an oversized school sweater over her faded jeans, not because it was fashionable, but because it was the warmest thing she owned. Her hair was damp, not from rain, not yet, from sweat. She had just returned from helping her mother mop floors at the city hospital. Unpaid, unofficial, but necessary. They needed every favor, every leftover, every tiny kindness to survive. As thunder growled in the distance, Maya paused at the corner near River Market to catch her breath. And that's when she saw him. The boy looked no older than 14. His face was thin, his feet bare, his school trousers 2 sizes too small clinging to his legs. He sat beneath a narrow pedestrian bridge with a candle cupped in his hands, trying to light it with trembling fingers. His eyes weren't looking for help. They weren't even looking at people. They were just tired. Maya could have walked past him like the dozen others who already had. The world didn't pause for kids like him, but she did. She crossed the road, careful not to spill her groceries, and knelt down beside him. "Hey," she said gently. The boy flinched, turning quickly. For a second, she saw it. The instinct to run. But his legs didn't move. Maybe they were too tired. "I'm not here to hurt you," Maya added softly. "I just saw you. Are you okay?" He didn't respond. She opened her plastic bag, pulled out a small foil-wrapped chapati, and offered it to him. He stared at it. Then slowly, carefully, took it. Not like a greedy child. Like someone who hadn't held real food in days. She watched him for a few moments. And then, without a word, she stood, took off her sweater, and draped it over his shoulders. He looked up, and for the first time their eyes met. There was no thank you, no name, just silence. She smiled. "Don't give up," she said, almost a whisper. And then she turned and walked away. 10 years later, Maya sat in a quiet cafe, her eyes glued to a laptop screen but her mind far away. She was now 27, still graceful, still calm, but with different scars now. Life hadn't been kind, but it hadn't broken her either. She had completed nursing school against all odds. Now she worked as a community health officer, part-time, and volunteered with women's shelters. Her dream was still alive, but her heart had grown quieter. At night, she sat with her journal, writing about her dreams, her fears, her loneliness. She never forgot the boy in the rain, and she never knew he remembered her too. It was a Friday when the envelope came, cream-colored, heavy, embossed in gold. She thought it was a donation request, but it wasn't. It was a wedding invitation, her own, to Daniel Mwangi, the rising corporate lawyer from Nairobi's elite class. A kind man, intelligent, well-spoken, and her mother's favorite. But as she stared at her reflection in the boutique's mirror weeks later, wrapped in lace and pearls, she didn't see a bride. She saw a question mark. Is this truly love? Or comfort dressed as a promise? The guests arrived early that day. The venue, decorated with ivory roses and wooden arches, buzzed with laughter and expensive perfume. And then, the sound of a private jet sliced through the sky. People looked up. A convoy of black luxury cars entered the compound. From the main vehicle stepped a man, tall, sharp, dressed in a navy blue custom suit. Sunglasses, assistants, a signature calm. Everyone froze. Maya stepped forward, and the man took off his glasses and smiled. Her breath hitched. "I never forgot you," he said, and then everything stood still. 10 years ago, he was just a boy in the rain. Today, Rehan Ayodele was a name whispered. In boardrooms and headlines across East Africa, founder of Raytech Foundation, owner of several tech startups, investor in clean energy, and one of the youngest billionaires on the continent. But success didn't come easy. After that rainy evening under the bridge, he found shelter in a rundown youth center. The staff there didn't ask questions. They just gave him a floor to sleep on and one clean shirt. The next years were survival. He cleaned buses, sold plastic bottles, slept in back alleys. But he never forgot her, the girl who gave him a sweater, who saw him, who didn't ask for anything. That sweater, Maya's sweater, became his symbol. He kept it folded in a plastic bag, tucked into his backpack. On the worst nights, he held it close. It reminded him that he mattered. He eventually found his way into a free tech workshop hosted by volunteers. It changed everything. His mind was fast, his curiosity sharp, and within a year, he was building apps no one else could understand. He got noticed, he got a scholarship, and then he soared. Rehan had never planned to interrupt Maya's wedding. He only came to say thank you, to return the sweater, to remind her that what she did saved a life. But when he saw her in that dress, glowing but uncertain, his heart broke, all over again. He realized something that scared him. He wasn't over her, and maybe he never had been. After Rehan's sudden appearance, Maya's wedding came to a halt. Daniel stood in silence, watching everything with grace but a heavy heart. Inside, Maya sat quietly in her room, holding the box. Inside it, her old sweater, a photo of Rehan as a teenager, handwritten note. "You gave me warmth when I had nothing. I give you thanks when I have everything." She cried. For the first time in years, she wept without holding back, not because she was confused, but because she knew the truth. She was about to marry someone she respected, but she was still in love with someone she barely knew. Later that night, Maya asked to speak to Daniel. He came, calm as always. "I'm so sorry," she said, tears in her eyes. Daniel smiled, sad but sincere. "I knew something was missing," he whispered. "I was just hoping we could fill it together." He took her hand gently. "But what you did for that boy, and what he became, that's not a coincidence. That's love returning in its truest form." Maya broke down again. Daniel stood, kissed her forehead, and said, "Go where your soul calls you." But Rehan had disappeared. No calls, no messages, nothing. He had vanished from Nairobi without a trace. And so, Maya began searching. She wrote emails to Raytech Foundation. She called embassies. She even visited the youth center where he once stayed, only to find a dusty wall photo with his name under the heading, "From Lost to Legendary." Weeks passed, then months, but she never gave up. After 3 months of searching, Maya received an email from a secretary at Raytech Global HQ. A woman named Casey simply wrote, "He doesn't take visitors, but if it's really you, come to this address at 4 p.m. Friday. Don't be late." That Friday, Maya stood outside a towering glass building. Her heart beat so loud she couldn't hear the street. Inside, the security guard already knew her name. She was led up to the 43rd floor, just a long hallway, and a single oak door with gold lettering. Rehan Ayodele, executive director. She knocked. No answer. Then, the door opened slowly, and there he was. He looked different. Same face, same eyes, but sharper, colder. He wore an expensive suit, held a tablet in one hand, and didn't smile right away. "Maya," he said. His voice was soft but guarded. She stepped in. They sat in silence for a long moment, then she said, "You vanished." He nodded once. It was too much. Too much? I came to say thank you, not to destroy your wedding. You didn't destroy anything, she said. You opened my eyes. And now you're here. Why? Because I needed to know. If I imagined everything that day, or if you felt it too. I've spent 10 years building walls, he said. Not just buildings, walls around my heart. I didn't think anyone would ever climb them. But then you walked in, without knocking. They started seeing each other in private, but secrets in the age of smartphones never stay secret. One evening, someone snapped a picture. By morning, it was front-page news. The attention was brutal. It wasn't Rehan who cracked. It was Maya. She began to pull away, stopped replying, started working extra shifts again, and one evening, she didn't show up at the restaurant. Finally, at 1 a.m., he got one message. I miss who we were before the cameras. Then silence. She was gone. Far from the flashing cameras and noise of Nairobi, Maya sat in a quiet village near Lake Naivasha, working at a tiny women's clinic. She wasn't running from Rehan. She was running from the world he lived in. Back in Nairobi, Agnes, Rehan's mother figure, noticed his silence. You're not afraid of loving her. You're afraid of what your world might do to her. She doesn't need you to be a billionaire, she continued. She needs you to be brave. A week later, Rehan stood on a TEDx stage. I am not here to speak about technology. I'm here to speak about the girl who fed me when I was starving and walked away when I became too loud to hear her silence. Her name is Maya. She taught me kindness when I had nothing and reminded me of humility when I had everything. And if she's listening, I'd give up every dollar I own just to hear her say hello again. The video broke records, but Maya didn't respond. One evening, as Maya locked up the small clinic, a child ran toward her holding an envelope. Inside, a note. I'm not waiting for you to come back. I'm building a world you'd feel safe in, if you ever choose to return. Come to the rooftop of the Intercontinental Hotel, Sunday, 6 p.m., or don't. I'll understand. Maya packed her bag. The city buzzed beneath her feet, but up on the rooftop, everything was quiet. Maya stepped out at exactly 6 p.m. In front of her stood a table, a single chair, a candle, and beside it, Rehan, not in a suit, not surrounded by assistants, just a man. You came. I wasn't sure I would. I wasn't sure I deserved it. They sat. No cameras, no noise. I thought I lost you, Rehan whispered. You didn't, Maya said. But I needed space to remember who I was before I became your story. Do you still love me? I never stopped. Then let's build something. But not like this. She placed the sweater on the table. Let's not rush into a wedding or fame or power. Let's just start over. So no ring? No. But maybe dinner. A walk in the park, a real chance. I can work with that. I had this made, he said. It has your name in my handwriting, and the date you saved my life. She fastened the necklace around her neck, and just like 10 years ago, they walked together into the rain. But this time, they weren't broken. They were beginning. A small wedding, no cameras, no press. She wore no veil. He wore no tie. But they both wore something that no money could ever buy. Peace. She saved a boy in the rain, and he came back with the world at his feet. But all she ever wanted was the part of him that was still soft, still kind, still real, and he gave it to her.